Hey guys, so welcome to the third installment of the tutorials that I'm going to be making. In the last one we finished up with this banner on our website. It had a nav bar at the top with a title and some links that all hover, and we had this banner in the middle, which you see on most websites now, so it's good to get it in there. Excuse me. What we're going to be doing this week, or day, or whatever, is this services area. So we're going to be making a services title, and then some of these boxes which you can put whatever you want in, whatever services you offer. I'm going to leave all these images in the description so you can grab them, and that's about it. So let's jump in. So this is where we were last week. This is our current, and I'll get it up there. Stupid Google. There we go. So this is current. So this is where we are. So the next stage then is to crack on with the HTML. So after our banner, that's here, I've just put these little indications in, but you don't need them. It's just so I know for myself. They are useful if you have a lot of data on there, a lot of information, but they're not 100% necessary. So let's change this to services, just so we know for later. That's all staying there. That's all staying there. We'll change this just to logo for the time being. There we go, this is the one we're working on, services. Okay, so after the banner, we're going to want to start with our services. So we're going to start off by making a div class of heading. Now I know you can use things like H1 and H2, but just for now we're going to make it as custom as possible. We're not going to use anything that's pre-styled or anything, so we're doing it all ourselves. So there's services. The next thing is going to be where the boxes are going to be. So just quickly save that. There's services. So the next thing is these 4 boxes that we want. So there's going to be a div that surrounds each of these, and then each of those is going to be in its own div. You'll understand more in a sec. So div, we'll call that one, we'll call it services, like that. Now there's a few things that we're going to want in here. So to start with, we're going to want to align it. Align, and that's center. Now there's hundreds of ways for you to align a div class. Hundreds and hundreds of ways, literally hundreds, but we're just going to use this one because it's the quickest and easiest for our example. So you're aligning the div in the center, and it just all applies to this class of services. If I spelt it right, there we go. So services, so we'll drop that down. So inside there then, what we're going to want is another div class, and we're going to call that service 1, because obviously that's going to be our first service. So we'll save that. It won't show anything yet here because there's nothing styled, but each of these I've named service 1. You're going to want to keep them all called service 1, and I'll show you why. But so far we've made the box that goes all the way around the edge that you can't see, it's invisible. We've also made the container for each of these separate services. We've made this title. So there's not a lot of code here, we're most of the way through, if I'm honest. Right, the next thing then is going to be each title for these. So these little titles here. So, oh, I always open iTunes, it's rubbish. Quit that. So where are we? So what we're going to want is a H1. Now we will use a H1, but I'll just show you why it's not good. So the first one was web design. So if we save that, oh, wrong one again. There's H1 now. it's already styling the text, which is what I don't like. We can change it, but just to show you an example, it styles the text for you, and I'm not a fan of it. But it's a good example because it's showing us that it is centered, which is what we want. So it is working so far. So that's our H1 there then. So the next thing we're going to want is the actual box. So, well, this text is what we want next. So this box of text. So what we want then is a P class. P stands for paragraph, so it's just a paragraph of text. Now you can fill this with whatever you want. I'm just going to copy this again, just because I can't be bothered writing it really, if I'm honest. Just clean that up a bit. So that's our P class there then. So that's just all the text. If we save that, it's just going to look terrible. There you go. So it doesn't look like anything at the minute. Now as you can see on this example, above the P text is actually this image. So what we're going to do is, well, what we're first going to do is copy those images across so it doesn't go crazy. So that is YouTube, services, and I'll just copy that and swap it in there. Replace, okay. All these images will be available in the description, so don't worry. But yeah, so above the P, we're going to want to make an image class. We're going to call that image. Now we're not just using an image source because we want to style the image. Learn how to spell, there we go. So I've saved that in image and we'll call it web. Right, so this is basically, without this, it's just an image. And it'll appear and it'll work fine. But it's obviously way too big. So that's why we've got this image class so that we can style it later. So that is about it. Well, we'll do one more. Outside the image, we'll make it an ahref, which we spoke about before. Ahref is how you link anything, so that's any link. The A is an anchor tag, and then the href is where your link goes. As usual, we're just going to link this to nowhere so it doesn't work. But if we have a quick look, now you can see the cursor's changing. That's because it is now a link and it all works. So that's perfect. But that is it, guys. That is all of our HTML. Obviously that's just one box, and I'll copy and paste it to show you 4, like in this example. But you can fill in that information yourself if you want. So let's get into the CSS, because that is our HTML finished. We'll just tidy this up. Come on, there we go. Just like that. Okie doke. So, HTML done. Next is CSS. So we're going to jump, I'm just going to make a few more lines because it's annoying me that I can't see the bottom. So, the first one that we're going to want to style is this service 1. And if you remember, the service 1, why is my computer going so slow? Service 1 is this one. So it's the class that the actual box is in. Just bear with me, I'm going to charge my Mac because I didn't realise it was so low. Okie doke. I'm hoping that's why it's jumping a little bit, so maybe this will solve it, who knows. Okay, there we go, so it's charging. Right, so yeah, first thing we're going to style is this service 1, because that is the actual box. That is each of these things. So let's jump in. Refresh that, it's pretty boring. So the first thing we're going to put in there is a max width. And we're going to make it 298 pixels. And I'll explain why in a second. Then we're going to add the border. Now there's ways you can add it. You can add border color and border style and border size and all that sort of thing. Or you can do it all on the same line. Just like this. Border, we want it 1 pixel thick. We want it to be solid rather than dashed or anything like that. So solid. And then you say what color you want. So ours is C1, C1, C1. So there you go, there's our border. It's changed the max size, so it's coming along quickly. We're also going to want a margin. And the margin then, so it's going to be 20 pixels by 10 pixels. Now the reason we're only doing 2 is because there's some rules for it. So if you have, you can have margin top, like that, and then you can have margin bottom, and just go through all of them like that. Or you can say margin like that, and that will refer to top, left, bottom, right. Or if you just do 2, the first one is top and bottom, and the second one is left and right. So that's how we're going to do it today. And padding we need to get in there. First one is going to be 0, second one is 5 pixels. And we're going to have a float there as well. And the float is going to be left. So there we go. Let's have a quick look at what that's looking like. And it's moved around a bit. Nothing really exciting, but it's starting to look a bit like something. So let's just carry on. So we've got the service 1 done. The next thing we're going to do is a P class inside a service 1. So we do our service 1, one of those thingies, and a P. So now we're styling any P class inside the service 1. So the first thing we're going to do is font size, which we're going to keep as 14 pixels. The next thing is color, and we're going to have that as slightly darker. It's going to be 636363. The next thing is max width. Oops. And we're going to make that slightly thinner than the actual service 1, so it's another way of giving a bit of padding, a bit of margin there. So it's 250 pixels. Just have a quick look at what that's looking like. So there you go, that's brought that in a little bit at the sides. The next thing, we'll just leave it at that for now, for the paragraph anyway. So moving on then, we're going to go to services. Services. So there's not too many for this. All we're going to change is the width. And it needs to be just a bit bigger than this, plus the padding and plus the margin and plus the border. So the borders are on either side, so that makes it 300 in total. Then you've got 5 pixels of padding on either side, so that makes it 310. So if we just make it 320, it shouldn't change because it fits inside nicely. So that's good. Margin then is going to be 0 auto, which we've learnt from past experience is centered. So there we go, it's nice and centered. It's coming along good. That is it for services. It's done what we want it to do. If we added another one now, if we just copied and pasted, which I'll do now. So this service one, if we got another one of those in there, save that. It's going to jump below. The reason for that is it's not wide enough. So we change it again. So instead of 320 now, it's going to be 640. Make it a bit bigger. That image is putting it out a bit. There we go. So they're side by side. This image is messing it up a little bit, but we'll get it sorted in a minute. So we'll leave it there for now. So after our services, the next thing we're going to want to do is our H1 tag. Like I said, it does it a bit for you, but it's not good because we want to be customizing it all ourselves. Save that. So it's this here that we're changing, this services. Sorry, no, it's this web design we're changing. So we're going to change the font size, and that is going to be 11 pixels. We don't want it to be too big, so just drop that down a little bit. Well, that looks way too small. Let's make it a bit bigger. Let's call it 16 pixels. There we go, it's a bit more manageable. So after font size, we're going to want to put a font weight in there. And this is why I don't like H1 tags, because it does it for you. But if we change it to bold, it's not going to do anything because it's already bold. But it's good to put it in there anyway. Next thing is background color. And we'll change it to the same color as our border. And I won't refresh it just yet, but it's this little background that we're creating, this little box, if you like. It's a sort of title box. So if we just refresh that now, and there we go. Starting to come along. After background color, then we're going to change the color of the text. Just like usual. There we go. Next then is the padding. This just to give it a bit of the spacing around the actual text itself, just so it's not all cramped in. So we're going to do the same thing again. Rather than give all the padding, we're just going to give 10 pixels and 0. And that's going to sort it all out, so it's nice and padded out now. Next thing then is the margin. And we're going to put the first one as 0, because there's nothing wrong with that margin. The top and bottom's fine. But we're going to change the left and right to -6 pixels. And that's because these areas at the side aren't quite fitting properly. So now they do. Perfect. Right, and that is it. That's finished for that little title. Looks exactly the same. That's because it is. The next one we're going to want to do then is the image. So I spoke about this image tag because it's too big. We want it to get styled. So we've get back to the HTML. We've actually put this image class in there so we can actually change it. So let's start styling our image. There's not too much to put in here, just max width is going to be 200 pixels, and that's because we want it to be slightly smaller than the services. So if we have a look now, there we go. It's a lot smaller. It's nice and neat. It's starting to look a lot more like the one we're trying to aim for. So the next thing we're going to stick in there is just a little bit of margin. So we're going to put this as 15 pixels by 0.00. And there we go, it's nice and margined out. Perfect. The next thing we're going to do is our heading. Now this time it's this one that we're changing, this services heading. So we're going to want to align the text just to put it in the center of the window. So we'll align that to the center and it jumps to the center. The next thing we're going to want to do is the font size. We just grab font size and that is going to be 25 pixels. We want that to be nice and big. There we go. Exactly the same size as that. 25 pixels. Next thing we're going to want to chuck in there is the color. So if we change that to, we're going to make that C1, C1, C1 again. I'm liking that color today. So that should change color now. It's a nice light color. You might want one slightly darker to make it stand out a bit more, but I'm quite happy with that one. And the last thing that we're going to stick in there is a bit of margin just to space it out a little bit better. So it's going to be 100 pixels for the top, then 0 for the left and the right, 50 for the middle, bottom again, sorry, and then 0 for the right again. So there we go, it's spaced out. It's exactly the same. So if we stick 4 in there now rather than 2, so we'll copy these again. And it's going to go crazy. There we go. And that is because we just need to alter these again. So the max width, we want that to be 3. So 1,000 sort of 3 of them, if you like. Stick 333 on the end, that should work fine. And there we go, it's absolutely perfect. They are exactly the same. The only difference is you've not changed these images, but I'm going to let you work that one out for yourselves. I'm going to give you all 4 images so you can just play with it and get it right yourselves. The last difference is now then that these ones actually change colour when we highlight them. And it's really easy to do in CSS3. All we need to do is just like with our nav bar, we're going to use .image, but after image we're going to say hover, just like with our nav bar. Really nice and easy. Few small things we're going to change. The first one is opacity, and we're going to make that 0.2. Make it whatever you want, but it just has to be less than 1. 1 is 100%, so it just needs to be less than 1. So if we have a look at that, and it's not working. Why is it not working? Oh, we'll carry on, we'll figure that out in a second. So we want the font size then. Well, we don't need to actually mess with the font size. What we're going to change though is the max width. And that's going to be 200 pixels. And the margin top, that is also going to be 15 pixels. So it's the same as the image up here. Same as the image up there. So there we go. I don't know why it wasn't working then, but it is now. So all 4 images are highlighting when we hover over them. And that's it, it's all done. How simple is that? Not long at all. We're getting good now. We've got 100 lines of CSS. It's like a century of CSS. We've got 67 lines of HTML, so that's absolutely nothing. But we've got these 3, 4, 5 elements. If you count the navbar as one, the header, this title, the boxes. So say we've got 4 decent elements that you see in every single website. I guarantee if you go on 10 websites, it's going to be on at least 9 of them. Every single one of these. So there you go, that's it guys. Thanks for watching. Any questions, leave in the comments. Grab these images in the description box, and I'll see you next time.